So what's up, everybody? It's your boy Jonathan D'Angelo, aka Johnny D. I got Neko Yasha09, Rhea Mars, and Burning Star Fisher with me, and you are tuned into another Blur Review session. And today, tonight, tomorrow, this afternoon, at your grandmammy's house, chilling in your baby mama's crib, kicking it with your baby daddy's best friend, knowing you're not supposed to, wherever and whenever you are listening to this, we are talking about Villiany 101, the perceived versus the true villain. We got a couple of heavy hitting famous films that we want to talk about in pop culture, but we're going to dissect what really makes the villain. And we're going to compare and contrast the obvious villain versus the true villain. I know you guys have seen it in memes, but we're going to have an actual discussion on it. Hopefully, we can keep it within time because, you know, we always go over. So the first one I picked was the obvious, one of the more obvious ones, Black Panther, right? So the obvious villain for Black Panther is Killmonger because he comes in, he works with Claw, he takes over the kingdom from T'Challa, he wants to wage war against white America, right? And a lot of Black people sympathize with that, obviously. A lot of Black people sympathize with that for a lot of reasons. Killmonger had a lot of good reasons why he wanted to wage war against white America. And, you know, he had solid points, but he's supposed to be the movie villain. But the real villain, I think, is King T'Chaka, because King T'Chaka, King T'Chaka killed Killmonger's dad, which was King T'Chaka's brother, because King T'Chaka's brother smuggled vibranium out of Wakanda. And he did so because he was an embedded Wakandan agent in America, monitoring the American government and its political structure. And he saw this. He married a woman who was Black American and saw the struggles and suffering of Black Americans. Now, it was said in Black Panther's movie intro that, you know, Wakanda stayed out of the affairs of Africa and the rest of the Black diaspora. So they knew what was going on, or at least on the hierarchy of Wakanda knew what was going on with the rest of Black America, but chose not to do anything at risk of exposing themselves and their own power and their own resources. So King T'Chaka killed his brother because his brother smuggled vibranium out of Wakanda in the effort to use it as weapons to help revolutionize Black Americans. If King T'Chaka had never killed his brother, Killmonger would not exist. He could have arrested his brother. He could have sympathized. Most importantly, he could have definitely sympathized and been like, wait a minute, you got good points here. These people are suffering and they are our people one way, shape, form, or another. We should probably help them. And King T'Chaka came around in the spirit, or in the ancestral plane at the end of the movie after T'Challa gave his rearing speech.
You're all wrong. Have a nice interview.
But it's like, it took him so long to get to that point that it
took him to be dud.
Right.
It took being dud.
He was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have killed him. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
He's like, maybe I should have taken him in.
And truthfully, you could almost blame King T'Chaka for, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you could blame King T'Chaka for the struggles of Black people around the world.
I mean,
hot take.
By the time the transatlantic slave trade came around, Wakanda had a technology that was 400 years in advance.
Yeah.
Right. So Wakanda was Wakanda then was where we are now. And they watched the rest of the world get enslaved and were like, damn, that's crazy. That ain't us.
That ain't us, though. Couldn't be me, though.
They were like, oh, we should probably help them, but we don't want them to know that we're not actually a third world country.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they too far inland to enslave us, but more power to you, big dog. Like, you know, like had arguably the entire Black Panther royal line is to blame, because had somebody stepped in and said, nah, we don't do that slavery.
Right, not a single one of the royal family members or anyone from the 5 tribes was like, you know, maybe we should actually help.
Right. None of them.
Which is why I stand that Nakia was right the whole time.
Yeah, Nakia, yeah.
Even though she's a villain in the comic, I agree. She was right. Like, So that's my first take is King T'Chaka. Because had he stepped in, had he that, and then he killed his brother. Like that's your brother,
right? Like damn, that's your bro.
Didn't even give him a chance. Like he just straight up.
Right, y'all don't have jail over there. I mean, you probably don't, but y'all don't have a cage over there.
They were gonna take him. Remember that he was gonna take them to jail, but he didn't.
Wait a minute, bro.
He decided against it.
They put Zemo in jail.
Exactly.
True.
They had, like I said, like T'Chaka was gonna take his brother to jail. He told him, "Follow me, we're going." But because his brother defied him in quotes, he killed him.
Yeah, he was like, "Nah, man, these people need us," and he was like, "Oh, so you just gotta die then."
Right, like,
and you could have taken your nephew. I mean, obviously your nephew's gonna be a little pissed that like your dad's dead, but like at least he's not in bumfuck USA.
In the system,
right? Because I don't know where the mom is. I guess she's dead or something of dead mom disease.
Like where was his mom?
It's
like
Disney.
Dead mom disease.
It's Disney. At that point, Marvel had Disney, and Disney love orphans.
That's kind of like what's it called? How Not to Be a Menace in the Streets or whatever. And
Don't be a menace. Yeah.
Yeah, and the sweet black mom is like, "Oh dear, I'm a good black mom. I can't be in this movie with you."
So my next take. So we all agree it's T'Chaka then.
Yes.
Say they will always and forever be white men.
Well, yeah, first and foremost.
Yeah,
first and foremost, it will forever be white men. But yes.
Yeah, for lack of solidarity, yes. In this particular case, yes.
Yes.
So my next one is Star Wars. So I don't know how familiar everybody is with Star Wars, but
fortunately, yes.
I saw a video where Dave Filoni was interviewed about the prequel trilogy, right? And you know, he was explaining how beautifully orchestrated George Lucas conducted the prequel trilogy. And at first I was like, shut up, Dave. So in the Skywalker trilogy, right? In the Skywalker trilogy, the original Skywalker, the original OG trilogy, the villain was Darth Vader, right? And then later it was going to be Palpatine. I honestly don't think within the Skywalker trilogy, I don't think the Sith are actually the true villains. I really don't. I think that the true villains in the two true villains in the Skywalker trilogy are Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now let me explain. It's a little complicated. Let me explain.
Okay. Not including like, you know,
Yoda, who was like, you can't marry.
No,
the Jedi. Hold on, the Jedi are the villains, but I don't think it's Palpatine and Vader. I think it's specifically Darth Maul and Obi-Wan, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Now, are you including Darth Maul that also happened to show up in the TV series as well recently, or are we just going off the movies?
Both. No, Darth Maul as a character contributed to the downfall of the entire galaxy. I'm gonna tell you how.
Okay,
Dave Filoni said in one of his interviews, he said that one of the major reasons why Anakin Skywalker fell to the dark side is because Qui-Gon Jinn was killed by Darth Maul. And Qui-Gon Jinn was one of the more wiser Jedis who understood early on that the Jedi Order was failing. And they were failing because they were too political, too diplomatic, and too detached. They lacked love, compassion, and empathy. Qui-Gon Jinn had that. And Qui-Gon Jinn later states some of these things in the Clone Wars, toward the end of the Clone Wars, and in the comics. So Qui-Gon Jinn dying after trying to take in and train Anakin gave Anakin up to a very stoic, very indecisive, very uncompassionate Jedi Order, right? Anakin had no father. He was born a slave. His mother had died. He was treated like shit because he was a human, and he was destined. He already had the highest midichlorian count of any Jedi being ever in existence. So he was already the most powerful Jedi just on the strength that his mother was the Virgin Mary, right? So knowing that Anakin had such a high affinity for the Force, Qui-Gon Jinn took him in, but the other Jedi were like, no, he's too old. And the reason why they didn't want to take him was because his age brought him influences early on that the Jedi wouldn't be able to knock out of him or train him out of. So with Qui-Gon Jinn dying, the only Jedi who actually had compassion, empathy, and love for Anakin. It left him vulnerable to Obi-Wan Kenobi, who, as we saw throughout the rest of the Anakin, the rest of the Skywalker saga, he was very like political. He was very unsympathetic. He was very stoic. Like there was no room for emotions. There was no room for, like emotional discernment. Like Obi-Wan was like, and in the end, Obi-Wan said, he's like, you were like a brother to me. I loved you. But Anakin didn't really need a brother so much as he needed like a father. And Obi-Wan wasn't that. And Obi-Wan from episode 1 said that he didn't want to be that. Obi-Wan didn't like Anakin. He was like, oh, we're about to bring on another life form. And he didn't want to train Anakin. And even when he got, even when he started training Anakin, it was not because he felt compassion for Anakin. It was because he made a promise to Qui-Gon.
Yep.
So he never felt truly obligated to Anakin until he went to the dark side. And then even then, he was like, well, I guess I'm just going to kill this nigga. Like, it wasn't even like, man, like, he was like, you were my brother. Like, I loved you. But, like, now that you're the dark side, I don't fuck with you no more. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't even like, he didn't, like, if your brother messes up, you beat him down, but you don't discard the fact that they're your brother. You know what I'm saying? Obi-Wan was just like, nah, I did love you. Or like, even in the 4, 5, and 6, you could see Obi-Wan from alive to even a ghost. Obi-Wan was like, yo, we got to kill Vader, bro.
Yeah, from the jump, he was like, no, get rid of Vader.
Yeah, so Darth Maul killing Qui-Gon allowed Anakin to easily be manipulated to the dark side. Because imagine if Anakin went through everything he went through, but Qui-Gon was still there to say, hey, I love you. I understand what you're going through. It's okay to feel your emotions, but at the end of the day, you're still a better person than your circumstances. Like, nobody told Anakin that. Nobody told it. Obi-Wan knew his mom died. Obi-Wan knew he was born into slavery. Obi-Wan even knew about him and Padme. Obi-Wan watched Anakin go through the Clone Wars and how traumatizing that was for him. And the only person that really had Anakin's back was Ahsoka. Yep. But Ahsoka left the Jedi Order because she was abandoned by the diplomatic, stoic, non-compassionate ways of the Jedi Order. So when Ahsoka left, Anakin didn't have anybody except Padme, but only part-time because they were at war. When Padme died, that was it. That's why he turned to the dark side. Because there was nobody left to be like, Anakin, bro, like, it's going to be okay. We got you. Obi-Wan was like,
she did kind of help. He just was like, no, I'm gonna throw you to the side real quick. I'm gonna fight this guy.
Shut up.
Basically, he's like, she told him, you're hurting me. Like, why are you doing this? He's like, I don't care. So she did try.
Does Anakin Skywalker have to force choke a chick? Like, is that like,
he did?
That's what it came down to. So yeah, I don't blame Palpatine or Darth Vader. I blame Obi-Wan and Darth Maul for why the Skywalker trilogy, like why Star Wars went the way it went. Now, ultimately, we can also blame Disney, but we're not going to get into that on this panel.
That's a whole other thing, and we don't have time for that in this panel.
We don't.
So...
But I agree.
I agree, though.
Agreed.
So, all right, Danny, what about you?
So now we're going to bring it to the weeby side and not the sci-fi movie nerdy side. My pick is from the anime and manga Fruits Basket. If you are sorry, so I'm going to label this with a spoiler warning because by the time this airs, the anime will still be ongoing. But if you're a manga reader like I was, this is what's going to happen. So spoiler warning for Fruits Basket. The main villain for Fruits Basket is Akito Soma, who is the head of the Soma family and was the main source of abuse for all the Zodiac members and anyone that's a part of the Soma family. And the real villain, in my opinion, and I stand by this opinion since reading the manga way back when, is that Shigure Soma is the real villain of the series because he is so shady.
Which of the Zodiacs is he?
Shigure is the dog. He is the one that Toru, Yuki, and Kyo all live with. And especially in the more recent episodes, you're starting to see more of his backstory and how he falls in with Akito. And I don't know what episode is out right now, season 3, but it was revealed that Shigure has always been in love with Akito. always had a soft spot for Akito, and the whole reason why Akito kind of went off the deep end is because Shigure was jealous that Akito slept with Kurano, the rooster, because Kurano's curse was broken, and out of pure jealousy, sheer jealousy, Shigure sleeps with Akito's crazy mother to get back at Akito, which thus made Akito lose her mind completely. Like, already she was abused by her mother, already had this god complex because she was the head of the family and was the god of the zodiac. So, already got that mental capacity. And Shigure was the one that she also favored. And because Shigure got jealous because she didn't know what was happening with Kurano losing his curse, and she was trying to cling on to Kurano, which, as a god, why not? Shigure sleeps with her mom out of spite, to make her jealous and make her regret doing everything with Kurano, and why I feel like Kurano became even worse and more abusive to everybody in the family. And Shigure also purposely antagonizes Akito. You see through more in season 3 now that his true intentions are here. Like, Shigure purposely pisses off Akito to get a rise out of her, which forces her to get angry with all the Zodiac members. So Shigure Soma is the true villain of the series, and honestly, I'm mad that Shigure never actually apologized to Zodiac members when Akito was apologizing to everyone after all their curses were broken. Like, good for her, she apologized, but I felt like Shigure should have also apologized because he's the reason all this happened. So
I don't know. Slept with somebody's mama. I'm proud of them. That's some future stuff.
No, if you sleep with my mama to try to spite me, and I'm a god, I'm zapping your ass. I'm doing something.
That's some weird shit right there.
Like,
that's wild. That's messy. I didn't know that shit was that messy. The hell?
Fruits Basket is so deliciously messy, and it's a shoujo series, and it's crazy. Like, it goes deep. Like, it's a very good psychological show if you really sit down and watch it, so I highly recommend it if y'all just like slice of life that actually has deeper meaning and goes into trauma and grief, because that show is all about grief as well, because everyone loses something in that show. So yeah, that was my first pick. My second pick is, I feel like a lot of people might agree, is Scott Pilgrim. Okay, I know I see this talk online, so I wanted to bring this into a panel. So we all know that the main villain of Scott Pilgrim versus the World was the League of Evil Exes, because, if he wants to date Ramona, she has to bite all her 7 exes, technically 8, because one of them were twins, whatever, that was weird, but but the true villains are actually Ramona and Scott, because they don't know how to break up with people.
Yeah, apparently.
Like, number one, why is Scott what was Scott? I think 21, 22, I think.
Yeah, he was something like that.
Yeah. He was 22.
22. Why is Scott dating a 17-year-old high school girl?
Literally.
All his friends.
To me.
Even his friends were like, Scott, she's 17. Why are you dating? She's like, well, and all his friends called him out on that. Yes, and then when he finds Ramona, who's, I think she's the same age as him, if not a couple months older, he's like, I like this chick, but I'm not going to actually break up with my girlfriend just yet. And this poor 17-year-old girl, this is probably like her first boyfriend, and she's the coolest thing ever. Is like, oh, why does he keep talking to this other girl? We're still dating. And then you also have Ramona, who kept going along with it, knowing full well Scott was still in a relationship, but is like, yo, if you want to date me for real, you have to beat my exes first. But who cares about your girlfriend? Like,
right, like what? How about the fact that he's dating someone else first? Like, that's your only hang up?
And then Nyes had every right to lash out at Ramona near the end of the movie and in the comics, because Scott never technically broke up with her yet. So I don't blame Nyes for trying to attack Ramona. Like, and Scott and Ramona are also really horrible people too when you watch the movie. And if you read any of the comics, they're really...
They're even worse.
Like, they go into envy, because the movie kind of glazed over Scott going out with Envy.
Yeah.
And you learn that Scott was actually really awful to Envy in college.
Yeah.
He neglected her a lot. Like, she was like, hey, can we hang out? Let's make music. And Scott's like, I don't want to. And then Scott gets all mopey when Envy gets the contract deal for Clash at Demon Head. And he's like, but I thought we were together. And Envy's like, you haven't talked to me. We don't do anything. Like, goodbye, Scott. And he's like, oh no, I'm single. Why?
Oh no, whose fault is that?
And then, oh my god, what was the redheaded girl's name?
Kim.
He also dated Kim, and he was horrible to Kim. The comics go into this too. Like, that's why Scott and Ramona belong together. They're both horrible people, and horrible people need to date each other.
I love it when horrible people are together. It means that they're not with someone who's actually decent.
That's really how I feel about it, because again, like, the whole thing is like you are with the protagonist Scott, and you're like, why are all these people really shitty to him? And then you go into the backstory and you're like, oh, that's why. Like, oh,
you deserve it. Okay.
Right. And it's like, why are his friends so mean to him?
Right.
Like, no, they know Scott's a piece of crap. And they call him out, and they're just like, Scott, you bring this onto yourself.
Are they mean to him, or are they just, just trying to call him out on his bullshit? Because they have been through his bullshit firsthand, so they know the first sight. They know it on first sight. Yeah, I agree. And Knives wouldn't even be in the entire series if he had just broken up with her. I feel like Knives is a perfect example of like the quote unquote crazy ex, where she's not actually crazy. She just genuinely does not know what's going on, and therefore has to do the detective work herself. But she's only perceived as crazy to anyone who has been told that she isn't really the girlfriend.
Right. And everyone forgets she's 17 years old. She's still in high school. And when you're at that age and you have a boyfriend, you want, like, let's be real, high schoolers really don't know what it means to really date someone, first off. Let's just be real. You're just going through what people tell you should be doing. So here's her. And everybody's like, why would she dye her hair? Because her boyfriend is cheating on her with this girl who clearly is cooler. So she's trying to make herself look in the image that he sees in this girl he's cheating on her with.
And she's still literally a minor. Like she doesn't know herself yet.
Right. She doesn't know anything. She's an actual teenager.
Right. Like what type of self-confidence is she supposed to have in high school?
None. Especially when your dude is hanging out with a chick who's his age and and hot and awesome. Like, I can't comment on Knives' appearance. I'm an adult, and that'd be freaking weird. Sorry.
Listen, for the sake of time, we got to move on, because we're gonna spend all day on Stop Building.
No, that's it. That was it. That was it.
All day.
That's it. All right, Kai, what's up? You're next.
Yo, hey. So I chose for my things actually two of the recent Disney Plus Marvel shows. Those are pretty relevant right now. So, and yeah, I have a lot of opinions. So let's start off with WandaVision. It came out first, so why not? So in WandaVision, as we all know, and spoilers if you don't know, so you know. But, Agatha is, they want us to think that she's the real villain. And, I mean, I get it to an extent. I mean, she wants power. Like, what is she going to do with that power? Probably nothing especially good, in all fairness. Like, I'm not saying I'm not going to argue that she's a good person, per se. Mm-hmm. But, she's the bad guy because she wants Wanda's powers. However, I think the real bad guy of the WandaVision show is actually fucking Wanda. Because, holy crap, she literally mind controlled a whole ass town. Do I honestly have to explain that? Hello? Like, these people are out here begging her to, like, oh, please just wake my child up so I can see them every once in a while. You can cast her as, like, you can make her do whatever you want, but please, like...
out with the twins, please.
Yeah.
Let her wake up.
Like, she can be their antagonist, she can be their best friend, whatever. I just want to see my daughter. It's been months. Also, can you stop the nightmares? Like, we're being tormented literally every night. and she has them acting out these whack-ass white, like, sitcoms and shit. Like, I'd be pissed about that, too. Like, you never watched Fresh Prince or some shit like that? No, Living Single? Nothing? Like, that's crazy. I know that black guy was pissed.
I mean, I know that
had to do that shit.
I highly doubt they were able to find, like, bootleg DVDs of Living Single or Fresh Prince in Sarkovia.
Are you sure Fresh Prince was like hella popular in its heyday? I don't know.
Hold on, wait, I think we got to tone down on the language. I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't know how they gonna let us conduct this panel.
It's okay, Johnny. You can just bleep it out.
Yeah.
But no, I think I agree with you. I think Wanda and Hayward were like the biggest villains of the. Honestly, Hayward was the reason why it all kicked off in the first place.
Yep.
But Wanda definitely, and I think the reason why watching Falcon and Winter Soldier versus WandaVision, Sam would have never been able to get away with half the stuff Wanda did.
No, because
right, and then she just flies off at the end, like acting sad that these people are pissed at her. Like, no crap. Of course they're not gonna like you. You've enslaved them for what was it, 6 months, a year? Like it was 6 months.
It was a couple weeks. Was it 6
months? It was more than a couple
weeks.
weeks. I think it was a couple of months.
Yeah, it was a few months.
It was a few months because remember they sent somebody out there and they hadn't seen them in like 2 months. So
it's been months.
Yeah.
Right.
Before they even got there. It's been months that these people are being tortured because you have to work your own trauma out. And like, yeah, look, I get it. You've been through stuff, but that doesn't mean you get to force it on a whole town full of innocent people. Like, how many people live there? Like at least 1,000, right? A little more than that.
And this is right after this is right after Endgame. So these people might have just got blipped back into existence just to get enslaved by Wanda. Like, what?
Yeah, literally. This one guy, literally, when one guy became conscious, he was like, oh my gosh, I have to call my sister or something. Like, she's in the hospital. Like, she might be dead for all I know.
Yeah.
Like, hello?
Oh.
So, no, like, yeah, bad guy, obviously.
It gave me Madoka Magica vibes, where Homura also basically she mind controls all the people that Madoka knows in order to create this fake fantasy for herself. And she is always, because of the way that happened, she's always seen as the villain. So it's very interesting that it's so similar, except it's just live action and with Marvel characters. And people are just like, poor Wanda, she lost vision. Of course she would act out. No.
That doesn't excuse anything. Right.
She should also be able to learn how to control her emotions, to control her powers. Right. That's like base stuff that they learn in high school.
Right. She's a grown ass woman at this point. Yeah, she's not a teenager, and she certainly don't look like a teenager, so it's like.
Side note, Homura did nothing wrong. Anyway.
Yeah, I would argue against that, actually.
Oh, here we go.
But like, no, let's not get into that. Let's not get into that right now. So yeah, I would think Wanda's pretty obvious. The second one, I also think is honestly pretty obvious, but I've been seeing people on Twitter and other places in the internet like arguing against this, so I guess this is gonna have to be my choice. So like in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they want us to think that Carly is the villain, you know, even a misguided villain, sure, like not necessarily all evil, just like a very misguided teenager who has extremist tendencies, you know, like blowing up buildings with people in it, you know, kidnapping people every once in a while, yada yada, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's bad. I get it. And yeah, sure, not good.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know, and she's trying to stop her main thing towards the end is trying to stop the GRC meeting from happening, you know, so she can keep them from sending away refugees over some over some bull crap. Like, why do you gotta do all that? You know, some anti-immigrant policies. That's what she's fighting against ultimately, and who can blame her? But, so yeah, she's supposed to be the villain. But honestly, the real villain of this particular show is John Walker. And I would have thought that would be obvious, but like, I don't know, some people just don't seem to think that. Anyways, so John Walker, first off, he's literally the antithesis of like what the first movie of Captain America posits that makes a good Captain America. Like, they are in the first movie, Captain America isn't like you know, a person that doesn't become super you know, Captain America because of the soldier serum. You know, they are Captain America because they're a good person, and that's why Steve is the one who was given the serum in the first place, and not, you know, literally any of the other soldiers who are actually more physically able to do that. So yeah, first off, that's it. And as you can see in this show, John Walker is like obsessed with this idea of the super soldier serum. Like, he gets his ass handed to him by the Dora Milaje, and he's literally like, oh, they don't even have the serum. And I'm like, yeah, man, they're just good at fighting. Like, literally. Right, like he's literally like obsessed with that idea. He has that whole conversation with Battlestar about hey man, if you could take the serum, would you? And he's like, hell yeah. And he's like, yeah, I would too. Like, he doesn't say that out loud, but yeah, he's like very obsessed with the serum, which is it's a bit of a mark on his character because that reads as a little power hungry.
Yep.
And then, let's see. After that, he's also like the show also posits him as like a good soldier. Like he's not necessarily a good man, he's a good soldier. Like they have that little introduction where he goes to like his old high school to like advertise being the new Captain America. They go up over his his medals as being a soldier, and like literally when he makes his new shield, he literally like makes it out of his like war medals and crap, right? Yeah, he literally does that. So he's obviously supposed to be a good soldier, but yeah, he's not a very good man because first off, he literally told Sam, all right, I'll give you like such and such minutes for you to talk to Carly, so this could potentially end in a somewhat, peaceful manner. So, and Sam is literally trying to make headway. Like he's literally actually connecting with Carly in a way that probably no one else would be able to. And then he just barges in like when he didn't have to at all, because again, Sam had this under control. And first off, he couldn't even make headway. He couldn't even find the Flag Smashers in the first place without tracking Sam and Bucky all over the world, first off. So he can't even do his job right. But ignoring that, he barges in unannounced, which sets Carly off, which leads to Battlestar getting killed, and which leads to him killing some rando that wasn't even the guy who killed him in the first place. So like all that entire event is his fault, first and foremost. Like Sam was doing his thing. Like the whole show could have had a completely different outcome if he had just waited like a few more minutes. Ultimately, like he's too busy trying to be a soldier and not being a good person where you could solve this in a way that didn't have to be violently. But because he's too busy not even trying to empathize with these people, like he's calling them terrorists from day one, that like he just messes it all up. And yeah, he's the bad guy. Also, like, people say he's redeemed towards the end. I don't really think so necessarily. I mean, he's literally working with a lady who's supposed to be called, like, Madam Hydra in the comics, so that's, like, yikes. And secondly, he also, like, literally quotes Lincoln, like, when he's hanging out with Bucky for a second, and I'm pretty sure that quote was referring to the Confederates, I think. So it's like, yeah, so it's literally like redemption where, like, y'all throw redemption around like it's free candy, and I don't know why. But, yeah. So that's the end of my essay. He's not a good guy. He literally caused an international incident. And, yeah.
Thanks for coming to Kaya's TED Talk.
TED Talk, yeah. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thanks. So you're up, Rio. Who you got?
So Kaya's talking about Disney
okay.
Plus. I'm talking about Disney minus. You know what I mean? We're gonna talk first about Lion King 2. Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. The villain of that is Zira. Who, if you'll remember, she's like, I don't know if she was Scar's baby mama that we never just saw.
I think so, yeah.
That's what it was insinuated.
Yeah, that's what's implied, which, okay, but she is the villain of that. But the real villain, let's be real, it's Simba. I don't know what happened with Simba, but he, like, exiled a bunch of random lions that just happened to mess with Scar. And I don't understand why he didn't think that would come back to bite him in the butt and make them resentful.
Listen, Simba was on his George Bush zero tolerance policy. All right.
But then you have a daughter. Then you have a whole daughter, and you don't think for a minute she's gonna like venture off and find these other lions,
right?
Happen to be exiled. You're setting yourself up for failure, Simba. You're setting yourself up for failure. Give them rights. Give them their property. Don't just give them the elephant graveyard. Give them another part where the light semi-touches it. You know what I mean?
Semi-touches it.
It's not truly where the light touches, but it's kind of where the light sets. You know, the sun sets on that land. And they're like, yeah, we're not on Pride Rock, but we're on Humble Rock. You know what I mean? We're here. We're chilling. He gives us something sometimes, and that's okay. And yeah, like, of course your daughter is gonna fall in love with the guy that you exiled from your land.
I mean, he can't plan that, in all fairness.
But
Okay,
it's
let's be real.
inevitable.
Let's be real. Let's not mention that. Let's also mention the fact that his daughter fell in love with her cousin.
Yeah,
Okay,
probably cousin.
but
Mikey.
Nala and Simba were also probably siblings, so who cares?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh gosh,
It's all in.
let's not get into that.
All of it. All of it.
Ignore that.
But we should also point out, if we're really gonna nitpick, how are all of the bad lions dark skinned? How? How? All of these bad masculine lions are dark skinned. I don't like that, Simba. Are
In
you
Africa.
trying to take for bag test for Pride Rock, Simba?
In Africa.
Period.
Colorism in Africa. I mean, it's a thing.
In Africa,
South
of
Africa,
all
apartheid.
places.
But yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think Simba is always the villain on that. Kai, I agree with everything you said.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, about to say, damn, y'all had nothing to say. Okay.
I agree.
So who else did you have, Rhea? What else did you come up with?
So, speaking of, well, I don't know, not a lot of colorism happens in this one, but Princess and the Frog, the Shadow Man is seen as the villain. And you know what? Okay, he sold his soul to the devil. Only idiots would really do that. You know what I mean? You meet the devil who is in the form of a Disney shadow that's actually still very scary. And you're like, okay, this is better than being poor, I suppose. I guess you're kind of a villain for that. But
Real villains, capitalism.
time, none of that would have ever have happened if it wasn't for what? Again, white people holding Tiana down, taking her, not being able to take her money because some richer client got it, and a woman of her background shouldn't even have her hands busy with a restaurant. Do women belong in the kitchen or don't they?
Literally.
Let's talk about it.
What? Wait.
Let's go.
That's a loaded question.
All she wants to do is cook. Do women belong in the kitchen or don't they?
Period. Go off.
Didn't hear that from
it's
me.
supposed to obviously symbolize how banks were and still low-key are very stingy and racist when it comes to entrepreneurs who are Black trying to start their own business, would obviously make a lot of money because their cooking is popping. They also know how to sing. You're voiced by Anika Nani Rose. You're obviously going to make some money during entertainment hour. And you just don't want her to be great. So the real villain, I'm always going to say it, it's the white people. The white people who own the banks. It wasn't Big Daddy and what's her name? What's her white friend's name?
Posey.
Lottie.
Lottie.
Yeah, Lottie and Big Daddy, they're fine. Lottie is honestly a really good ally because what did she do? She just said, "Excuse me, Big Daddy," took all that money and handed it over to Tiana. And
Because
that's
Tiana-
They
And I
should
know someone's gonna make a comment.
take all that money and throw it at the Black people. So good job, Lottie. But
That's true.
Like, and I know people are complaining, well, why didn't Lottie help before? Because we saw in the movie that Tiana refused the handout. She absolutely refused. And as Lottie had to find a loophole to give Tiana that money. And that
Exactly.
was, hey, cater our event. And we all know Tiana probably would have lowballed herself for that event. So Lottie was like, no,
Yeah.
take the cash, go. And Tiana's like, oh, I got the money now. Because Lottie knew. Lottie knew.
Exactly.
Literally.
I don't disagree with any of this, but I will say I still feel like the true villain of that movie was the prince because he was above.
Oh boy, we're not going to get into this.
No.
We're not.
We'll do it
He's
later. We'll talk about it.
misunderstood. He's
No, he's bummed.
misunderstood.
Listen, a Black man deserves a chance to get his act together, even if it's a little late in life.
Listen.
Want to be Hispanic or Spaniard or something.
He's whatever he wants to be, okay? He's mixed.
He's Afro-Latino, it's fine.
Right.
You want Black women to be loyal or don't you?
Look at his mom. His mom is definitely
Listen,
black.
we're not doing this. We're not doing this.
We're not doing this. Yes, we're not.
Okay. So
The
next one.
The next one. Okay, so the next one, Lucifer, the TV show, not the well. You can go TV show or comic, but I'm owning in on the Netflix TV show, Lucifer, which thank God got renewed for 6th season. Thank God. Lucifer. He spins it. Lucifer, the perceived villain in Lucifer, you could take it a couple of ways. It could be actually Lucifer, or it could be the criminals that he helps Detective Decker solve, capture every episode, because it's the devil and a detective solving crime. So take it how you will, it's still a good show. Now, I feel like in the last two seasons of Lucifer, the real villain was his twin brother, Michael, right? But I feel like the true villain of Lucifer, honestly, is God. Michael is a little more obvious of the villain. He's like the main big bad, but I feel like it's God, because God came down in the form of the Allstate Man and admitted at the end of season 5, spoiler alert, that, he could have treated Lucifer and Amenadiel better. He could have treated all the angels better. He could have loved them more. He said he tried to give them so much free will and so much rule. And he tried to make sure that they could, do it on their own without any guidance. And it left them feeling unloved and unwanted. And even though they had millennia of time to work out these issues, they never really had to face these issues, nor could they, because God was so elusive and so mysterious in his ways, And I feel like if God had actually given his creations, his children, his angelic children, the fatherly attention they deserved, they wouldn't have turned out the way they did. There would be no rebellion. There would be no hell. There'd be no Michael getting revenge on Lucifer. Because Michael orchestrated Lucifer's downfall from the rebellion to the Garden of Eden to him ruling hell, all the way up to him almost trying to kill Chloe Decker, Lucifer's girlfriend. It was the whole thing. Michael was behind all of it from day one, but Michael wouldn't have had to be behind all of it if God said, hey, you're my son too, and I love you just as much as I love Lucifer or Amenadiel, or told Lucifer, you're worthy and I love you. So I feel like God is the real villain. And shout out to bad fathers, because deadbeat dads, deadbeat dads can be present and still be deadbeat. I feel like in Lucifer, God was a deadbeat dad. Like he was just kind of there, but didn't do nothing. Like that's still a deadbeat dad. So
I love you.
I feel like God is the real villain there. And it is what it is. And then I guess next, Castlevania. So we all agree Dracula was supposed to be the real villain, but the real villain was Catholicism.
Yep.
Once again,
100%. God is the villain again.
No, because what did Belmont say? Like the first season, like God's not even here. Like it's just y'all doing that. Like no, it was the demon, the first big bad demon that Dracula released from hell. He told the business like God's not even here, bro. Like you're just doing stuff to do it. Like and so it's like I feel like with Castlevania, they wanted Dracula to be the bad guy. They wanted like the vampires to be the villains. But truthfully, if Catholic, it is the funny thing is the time frame that Dracula took place was actually the events and the way they went about killing Dracula's wife, because it's science, but it looks like magic. That's actually historically accurate. You got to remember, this is the same Europe that tried to kill, that threatened Galileo be burned at the stake if he published his works about the revolution of the planets around the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, of course, this is the same Europe that would take Dracula's wife and say, you're healing people with medicine. We're going to burn you at the stake. So, a lot of people don't know that, but the Catholic Church wanted to make sure that they had a foothold over the European population. So they banned science, which is why people thought the Earth was flat, which is why people thought that the planets revolved around the Earth, because anything that contradicted that conflicted with the I wouldn't say the Judo-Christian belief, but the Catholic Christian belief and the structure that Catholicism and the Holy Roman Empire had put forth in Europe. So Catholicism is the real villain of Castlevania. And it'll be a couple of 100 years before non-denominational and other religious acceptance comes into play for both real life and Castlevania, given the time period.
Yep. They're like, what do you mean? That you're boiling this and drinking this? That's witchcraft. It's like, no, it's science.
No, it's science. It's called aspirin.
It's called headache medicine.
Tylenol. It's called out Advil.
It's called echinacea. It helps your immune system.
You know, it's like maybe y'all wouldn't have died of the plague if y'all had some of that magic.
You know, it's like, here, eat this fruit. It'll keep you healthy. Eat this, have a berry. It'll give you vitamin C. Thank you, Johnny. I'm glad you called.
And then it was like they kept trying to bring, and then it was crazy because like they kept trying to bring. I'm not even gonna do that. But like they kept trying to bring Dracula back, but you know, and everybody was like, "Oh crap, Dracula comes back. What's gonna happen?" The problem isn't Dracula. Dracula died, found his wife in hell, made peace with everything, and was good. He was good.
He was vibing and chilling.
Yeah, he was fine. Like the real problem was the fact that like even after Dracula was dead, you still saw the negative ramifications of Catholicism themed throughout the show after Dracula was defeated. So it didn't, Dracula or no, the problem was still going to be religion. And that was what's his name? The bald black dude. I can't think of his name.
Isaac.
Yeah. That was the whole thing. Was like, well, humans believe one thing, but what we believe isn't necessarily correct. And that was his whole journey from the last season, was trying to find himself among all the beliefs that he was that were forced upon him. And so I don't think it's Dracula or the vampires. I just think it's Catholicism.
Yeah.
For that fictional world, at least. For that fictional world. I don't want people to be like, oh, Johnny D hates Catholics. No, I ain't say that.
Well, in all conclusion, I feel like we can all agree that the main villain is systematic oppressions that were created to oppress people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think we touched on that like 4 or 5 times in this, actually. I'm not going to hold you. In different ways. The villain has been systematic oppression at some point. It always comes back to that. I know people are going to look at this and be like, panel full of black people, and they always go back to that. But
well, whatever.
We can't tell if the symbolism in most of these shows is systematic oppression. We can't.
Yeah, it's not our fault that racism exists. What do you say?
We're still the internet's still debating on whether or not Sam couldn't get the loan because he was black or broke. Like, we don't know.
It's like literally because he's black. Like, I mean, and broke. Being broke doesn't help, but yeah, he's broke because he's black, so it comes back to race one way or another.
Look, Tony Stark could fly down to Brooklyn, to Queens, and yell at Tom Holland Spider-Man for trying to save a boat, but couldn't pay nobody to risk their lives. That's crazy.
Literally. Right, you best friends with a billionaire, and you still like broke and yeah, like hello.
That really was the tension, the biggest tension in that movie. He tried to save that boat, and he was so mad.
I'm mad that it took donations from the whole town folk for his boat to get up and running, but Tony couldn't help him.
None.
I mean, well, Tony's dead by now, but like.
But I'm saying before.
Right, before, yeah.
And so, but hey, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna wrap this up. We appreciate you guys kicking it with us. It's your boy Jonathan D'Angelo, aka Johnny D, Neko Yasha 09, aka Danny, Burning Star Official, and Rhea Mars. You can catch us everywhere at The Blurred View and at TVV_After Dark. You can catch Rhea Mars at Rhea Mars. You can catch Burning Star Official at Burning Star Official. And we are out of here. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Bye.
Like and subscribe and all that good stuff.